Happy Thursday, everyone. Excited to be here again. My eyes are super blurry today. So just a heads up. If I'm having trouble, you see me squinting, right? Stumbling on things. That's what's going on. Just an eye condition I'm dealing with. And I think we'll get through it just fine. If you're joining for the first time, hey, I'm Adam Ruff. I am a product designer at AngelList by day. Hey Ralph, how you doing? And weekly, I'm doing these streams. Just want to meet other designers, hang out, share some stuff. Tonight's spotlight, we've got a portfolio review, and that's going to be the main focus. I'm really excited about this portfolio review because the designer who requested it asked for special focus on cutting down text. So thinking about writing and communicating concisely and effectively with as few words as possible, and better storytelling, which I think is really important for portfolios to be doing. Storytelling. It's really what it's all about. And I'm going to go ahead, and I think I've got everything set up. Oh yeah, there's one thing I want to plug real quick. If you happen to be in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, I guess could be other Bay Areas. There are other Bay Areas, I know. I'm going to put the link in chat. Next week we've got a pretty huge mentor night happening. It's going to be at Adobe headquarters. It's got a bunch of Adobe team designers, just fantastic. I'm going to be looking to like schmooze with some of these other design mentors a little bit, I think. And just a huge list of people from all kinds of different companies and different titles. And yeah, so a lot of great mentors. A lot of these folks I recognize and have mentored alongside for a couple of years, and there's always new faces, which is super exciting. So this is a great opportunity if you're interested in coming to chat with someone who maybe has a little bit more experience than you, or is in an industry or doing some work that you're interested in. Perfect chance to get some one-on-one face time with those folks. So with that out of the way, I got the link post. Excellent. All right, so let's move into portfolio review. I'll set this up. I guess I'll set this up with a little pitch. Right. So as we're going along in this portfolio review, if you say, wow, there's some actionable information here. Some of the stuff I can apply to myself. And I wish I could get some even more specific feedback. Head over to my website. You can find a little link to portfolio review. Actually, I want to refresh the page. I want to see, I set something up. Oh, cool. I have this little live button that's supposed to go live at my regularly scheduled time. So it's good to see that's working. Yay. It's great when things work as you expect. And the way that this portfolio is going to work is I'm going to focus on 3 pages. And I'm going to go through, and this is the first time that I'm seeing this website. So it's going to be a mix of fresh eyes feedback and observations, kind of thinking aloud. Ooh, I'm already jumping ahead. And also looking for specific strengths that I want to shout out and really highlight, as well as things areas where I see opportunities for improvement, especially on text and storytelling. That's going to be my focus. So if you hear me talking about other stuff too much, don't hesitate to remind me in chat. Text, concise text, effective storytelling. All right, we got my Hemingway app open. This is something I love to use for making text shorter. So I often pop text in here. It'll flag long sentences in yellow and then super long sentences in red. If your sentences are super long, they tend to be hard to follow and hard to read. So this will come in really useful. I'm expecting maybe I can pop some stuff in and share some examples. All right. Without further ado, let's get going with this portfolio review. All right, so this is Asha's portfolio. Asha Raval, I'm guessing is how you pronounce that. By the way, this is something that I like to call out whenever there's something that I'm like, yeah, it could be pronounced this way, it could be pronounced that way. Not a requirement, but an opportunity. Is there a cool rhyming word, right, that rhymes with your first or last name that you can share with people? It's like this. Like, is this Raval like Naval of AngelList from AngelList, Naval Ravikant? Maybe, maybe not. Anyhow, this looks like a case study. Yes, defining the vision for a new credit card app. Okay, I'm just taking a little bit to figure out like where I am. There's product design, there's illustration, just looking at navigation a little bit. Initial impression is it's clean, it's kind of minimalist, clean design, right? A lot of white, large text, super appreciative of that, right? With my eye condition, I'm more and more appreciative of default font sizes that are a little bit easier to read. So this is definitely legible to me. Some of these other things are a little bit harder to read in my current state, but also legible. Can figure it out. All right. So this is the headline for a case study: defining the vision for a new credit card app. Okay, that may be like a task, a description of the task. Like it's like, Asha, your task is to define the vision for a new credit card app. Cool. Why? Why does the world need a new credit card app? Or maybe this is an existing company. Why do they want to create a new app for their bank, right? So being able to communicate why is really powerful in storytelling. Another great place for kind of a headline or a real impactful title is focusing on the impact that you had. So for example, what impact did defining the vision for this new credit card app have? What did it do? What did it accomplish? What did it achieve? Early on, I'm looking for some context about when this happened. So some metadata. Did this happen this year, last year, 2 years ago? Was it a 1 week project, a 6 month project? Things like that. Responsibilities. So what does it mean exactly to define a vision? What kinds of responsibilities and tasks did you take care of during that process? Who did you work with? Were you a solo team? Were you working closely with other product people or other business stakeholders, salespeople? Who were you working with to achieve this? As far as meta context, that's pretty much what I'm looking for. So we've got these simple images here: create account, dashboard, spending stats, account settings. I guess this is just kind of to give you an overview. This definitely, for me, connects with new credit card app. Okay, I get it. Like you said, credit card app, creating an account, a dashboard, some spending stuff, right? You use credit card to spend, account settings. Cool, those kind of things make sense. To me, this image right here is fairly decorational, right? It's just kind of made to connect the idea with this new credit card app. There's no real strong branding that I can see. There's just some, basic, fairly clean, fairly flattish design style. And that's what I'm getting here. All right, I'm gonna scroll on down. I guess one point I'll just add is, in terms of storytelling, if this was not decorative and you really wanted to get something, communicate a message by showing this, adding a figure caption at the bottom is a really helpful way of doing that. So maybe it's something like, these are the 4 key areas of the new credit card app. Cool, got it. All right, responsibilities. This text is super easy to read. I'm loving it. Sentence text. Currently serving as sole product designer for envisioning the consumer app MVP, first for iOS and then Android. Okay. What does that mean? What are those responsibilities? I guess maybe they're under here with these bullets. Partnering with team to craft user experience, from research, collaborating on design research, creating sketches. So I know Asha had asked me to focus on text content and thinking about storytelling and thinking about being keeping things really short, right? So I think this is great. I think a bulleted list is awesome. Let's just see. I'm just gonna see what happens when I pop this in Hemingway. Wow, look at that. So it flagged all of them as hard to read or very hard to read for the length. And one of the things that I recommend for understanding what are some good strings of text or short sentences is to look at job posts. Let's see if we can find one. Let's go to AngelList, of course. And let's go to jobs, startup jobs. And I'm going to find a job. I'm not signed in yet. Let me sign in. And let me do my two-factor authentication. How secure. This is not taking time away from the portfolio review, by the way. We'll make sure we give it enough time. Now it's always a task of remember which authenticator to use with this. Alrighty. I did it. Okay, cool. You'll see where this is going. I think it'll be helpful. All right, so let's find one. Is there anything that I recognize in terms of Webflow? Here we go. That's not a design. All right, let's just grab one of these. Hover. 3D models of any property. Cool. Can I get a job description? No. Okay, let's see if we can go to Hover's website. Or maybe it lists it's here. Product design lead. Here we go. Why don't they link to this from the other page? I'm gonna have to give this feedback to talent, huh? Okay. Here we go. Got it? Boom. You will contribute by, right? These kind of like tasks and responsibilities. So now we come over here and this is like hack your portfolio time, right? All right, let's see. Partnering with founding team and engineer to craft user experience. Work closely with product design director to develop team strategy and shared vision. Partner cross-functionally with design team members. So it sounds, wow, this is also a long sentence. They can take the advice of using Hemingway too, right? Shorten up their tasks and responsibilities. My goodness. So maybe this isn't the best idea. Or best example. Act as a hiring manager. No. This one's more like a. This is a different match. This doesn't work. It says design lead, but it's really a design manager. Let's see if we can find another one. Principal designer, sure. Let's try this. Jobs. Responsibilities. Look at these. These are fairly short. I bet you these don't set off Hemingway's. Look at that. Great. So this is about the length that you want to do. So let's try that. Teach our team, connect user research and testing. Here's one. I think this, I think there's something like this. This one. Collaborating on design research, conducting usability tests with prototypes, gather relevant data to increase the impact of design. Boom, here's one. Conduct user research and testing. You can get rid of quickly, right? Get rid of adverbs. That's an easy way to shorten up your text. Iterate based on user feedback. Cool. And if you're using the present tense, which I think is actually helpful in storytelling, then you just tweak it. Cool. So that's an example of how you can get inspired from actual job post responsibilities and start to align the story you're telling with the story that they are telling. Hey, Janice, welcome, welcome. And Asha's in the house. Welcome. Welcome. Let's continue. Team, currently working with 2 co-founders and 1 developer. Cool. I like that she called out the role of the folks that she's working with. Sometimes people write names. Sometimes people, I don't know, do other things. 2 co-founders, 1 developer. Great. Duration, October 2019 to present. Okay, so it's a little over a quarter of work so far. I know this isn't related to the text content per se, but one thing I will call out is the design. So the layout of this. This is fairly busy in terms of, this almost reads like one thing. My responsibilities team. You know, Android, duration, partnering with founding October. The proximity of these things are very close. And for example, the gap between October, right, October, and this paragraph here seems to be smaller than the gap between duration and October. So proximity is a really easy way to create grouping, and when it's off, it means that groups are not as apparent, not as visible. So thinking about how to break these things up. Maybe it's 3 columns, maybe it's single column. I would encourage Asha to think about how can she help with the flow so that she's also using the layout and structure of the page to guide people through the story. I'm trying to think of any other meta stuff that I'm looking for. The only other thing I'm hoping is coming next is why. Like, why did this project exist? What are some of the goals and desired outcomes? What are success metrics? How are they going to measure success for this project? That kind of stuff. Credit with a conscience, don't know what that is. Problem, blah, 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 right? I'm not going to read this. I don't know how many people read it. I don't think recruiters and hiring managers read case studies unless they're very short, right? And you can scan through them. So guide is the company. It's interesting that it comes up here first. That might actually be something that you call out here, like who's the client? Client is guide. It's interesting that it's here first for the first time. You don't necessarily need to know what the company is to understand the problem. So I also think that's interesting. I would say if guide was a huge name brand that it's a household brand name, that might be something that could be leveraged earlier to give some authority and credibility to this. But because Guide is an early stage credit card company right now, not shining a spotlight on that I think makes a lot of sense. Focus on the story. It's great. For me personally, I don't need any of this information. Like, what is this? Unless this has to do, I guess the question is, why have this? What does this do to help your story? So here's the problem. I hope this is why. Let's see if we can pull this out. We're going to spend a little bit of time on this because we do want to focus on the text content. So for people who are approved for the guide card making, I'm just going to copy this right over to Hemingway actually. I'm going to clear this stuff out so we have a clean slate. For people who are approved for the guide card, making payments on time and improving their credit score can be difficult. I'm going to start splitting these chunks up. How might an app make it effortless to make payments, track their spending, and build credit without thinking too much? The founders asked my help to envision the MVP of their consumer app, a tool they saw as vital to ensuring the financial success of their probably should be customers, I guess. I mean, they may not be paying. I tend to use the word customer fairly generally, right? Users, they're kind of customers. They're paying with their time, right? You're either paying with money, paying with time. Like either way, you're a customer. It's like my personal use of the language, just so you understand where I'm coming from when I say that. So, this, I think it was under the headline, the problem, right? So this is something common that I see quite a bit. I see words like the problem, and then I don't actually see a problem, right? So what typically, when I think of problem, I'm looking for words like this. Can't. I'm really looking for can't. Like, what can't people do? Right? People, right? People with low credit scores. I'm assuming that's part of the audience, right? Because it's talking about improving credit score. So this is an assumption I'm making. People with low credit scores can't, what can't they do? They can't participate in, what do you need good credit for? Opening a business. Can't open a business or get an affordable housing loan. I'm just making this up, right? To be clear. There's an example of like a problem. Oh, people with low credit score can't open a business or get an affordable housing loan. That's a problem, right? We want people to be able to open businesses, and we want people to be able to get affordable housing loans. Yes? I think those are good things. So that's an example of a problem statement. Saying something is difficult, great. There's a lot of things that are difficult that maybe are framed more as a challenge, right? I think problems tend to be very negative and have a very clear result or effect from the problem, right? Because of this problem, someone can't do X, Y, or Z. So identifying the problem, great. The problem could just be that low credit scores prevent people from blah, 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 right? Okay, there's one part of the problem. Could just be something as simple as that. So think about how you can make a really simple problem statement that someone can read and look at and say like, yes, that definitely sounds like a problem that is worth solving. I think that's a big thing, right? So in your storytelling, you're focusing on what's that problem that people are like, oh yeah, we should definitely do something about that. Not something that's like, making payments on time can be difficult. Okay, like, should we remind them? Like, hey, your payment's due. Okay, yeah. I think there's a lot of things that there are a lot of things that are problems that can be brushed off. So figuring out what's that really big problem that is going to help capture people and say, oh yeah, I want to find out how Asha's working on addressing this problem. Maybe the problem is simply that people have low credit scores, right? And you're just addressing why is it a problem. Other things to enhance problem, like impact, the number of people. Number of people with low credit scores. How many people are dealing with the issue of low credit, right? Are trying to improve their credit score. All right, let's go back. And then Okay, so let's say that's a problem. Talking about, oh, I like this. I like this word, metrics. Cool. Average number of users who make their monthly payments on time. Boom. Average number of users who increase their credit score after 6 months. Cool. Just to come back here and again, trying to focus on being concise. It's very easy to write a lot of words, and this is something I do personally. That's why I use this tool. It's very difficult, or more difficult, challenging to write fewer words to become more simpler. How would I change this? Success metrics. Here's how we measured success. Average number of users per month who pay on time. Who pay, I guess, bill on time. I don't know what from launch of app means. I don't know that that's important. And then average number of users, average number of users who increase their credit card score after 6 months. Yes, that makes sense. Using their guide credit card. Okay. I think we can assume like users are people who use the guide credit card. Boom. Average number of users who increased their credit score. Average increase of users' credit score after. I might actually change this one. I might actually say something like, well, I guess you're looking at there's different ways of cutting things, right? So number of users tells about the human impact. I think that's important. I think potentially another success metric that could be measured that might be useful would be average credit score increase. Average 6-month credit score increase. There we go. Per user. Does that make sense? So it's like, okay, if the number of people per month who paid bill on time, yes, making that number go up, definitely important. It could also, I'm just, average amount of late fees per user. There's so many things. I'm not going to ideate on this. So many things. The number of people who increase their credit score, great. However, if the credit score increase was, what if it was 1 point, right? You increase your credit score 1 point after 6 months. At that rate, it may take people, I don't know, 3 lifetimes to increase their credit score. Now, I'm making a really extreme example, but I'm doing it for the purpose of the kinds of questions that, to show the kinds of questions that someone might ask about success metrics and pick on them. Kind of say like, are these a sufficient set of success metrics? Is this enough to know if you're doing a good job? For the first one, I think probably, right? Looking at the average number of users per month who paid their bill on time. I think that's great. The average number of users who increase their credit score after 6 months, that's a good number. Like, it's good to see a positive number. We want more than 0. But it doesn't tell us anything about how much their credit score increased, right? What if 100% of the people increased their score 1 point, or like some negligible amount? That's not necessarily something that you'd get super excited about. So there might be another metric that you consider adding or talking about or even measuring, which is about like how much did that credit score increase? All right, so I think that's good. I'm super glad to see these. This is often something that's missing. I'd say another piece that I would love for the story is like, great, talk about the problem, then talk about like what the future looks like. What's the desired outcome? Because of this project, how does the world look different? Even if it's only for a specific group of people, that's fine. How does it look different? Why do subprime consumers struggle to manage credit? What is this? Subprime consumers. What does that mean? It sounds. I understand it. It's not a term that I use, that I've never said like, oh, are you a subprime consumer? It sounds negative. It basically just means people with low credit scores, right? And why is this section here? I guess this is my question. So again, why is a really important question for storytelling. And I would ask, now that you've got these metrics, can you break these down? Like, I guess I'll kind of scroll up and say, where do I imagine the story goes from here? Just to set like my imagination or my expectations. Well, I'm guessing that Asha might go into one or both of these, maybe hopefully one at a time so I can focus on something. But she may provide a path to talk about how she went about working on a design and a vision to achieve this goal, to increase the average number of users who make their monthly payments on time. Or the second metric, right? About the average number of users increasing their credit score. Oh, I thought of, I'm gonna jump back here. Who increased their credit score by more than, maybe you put a line in the sand, say like 10% or something. This might be a way to kind of combine these two. Just had that idea. So that's kind of where I see the story going. Because now that you've set some metrics and saying, here are the things we want to be measured by, I want to know how you're going to get there. So then when I see this section, I think, I don't know what this has to do with these other things right now. There's a lot of text. Granted, it's easy to read in terms of comfort, like it's large, but I also don't understand why I'm seeing this based on this heading, so I just think it's skippable. I can skip this. Navigating credit is unnecessarily complex and costly. Okay, why is that important? Why do I need to know this? I want to know how are you going to get more people to pay on time? That's what I want to know right now. How are you going to do it? This doesn't tell me how you're going to do it. Participants don't trust financial institutions. This isn't going to do it. Impersonal, unprintable. This isn't going to do it. This isn't going to do it. These may all be true, right? And there may be some things that are relevant to the situation or the environment that Asha was dealing with, but they don't tell me, they don't move the story forward from my expectations, at least. They don't help me understand how you're going to get more people to pay on time, how you're going to increase their credit score. Design principles. Okay, why is this? Provide a holistic financial strategy. Okay, why? Which one does this, what does this help with? Provide deep, meaningful insights. Again, how does this affect those success metrics? Accessibility and humanity. Cool. Those sound great. Those are words that I want to yes, accessibility, humanity, yay. But again, why? How does that help? How does that help move the story forward? Ready, set, sketch, generating solutions. The principles in mind, ideas generated, blah, blah, blah. There's some example. Ooh, here's an example of an illustration that I think could really benefit from a figure caption. For example, did Asha do this? Did someone else do this? Why did they do this? What is it? Why is most important, right? Started sketching on paper to blah, blah, blah. Some prototyping. I'm just starting to scan now. I'm trying to like pick up the story. Like where can I hook into the story? Helping users choose the best amount to pay. Nudging the user toward making a payment on their full balance. Okay, so which one does this help? This helps. I guess this helps the first one, right? This hooks into helping people pay on time. Somewhat, right? So I actually feel like this feels more like the start of the next hook, like where I would go after those success metrics. I expect after success metrics some baseline, like what percentage of people using guide, right? Guide? Yeah, I think it's guide. Using the guide credit card, pay their bill on time. And I'm assuming when you say pay their bill on time, it means pay their full bill on time. How much is owed, right? Not a minimum payment or no payment. What's that? Okay, cool. Did you have some ideas about why people are not paying in full? Did you try to understand that? Why? Cool, that's what I want to see. I want to see you did something, anything, to try to understand why people weren't paying in full on time. Then, this sounds like maybe some ideation area, right? After usability testing, a prototype, it was clear more context was needed for a sliding scale. I'm going to have to zoom in because I can't, again, my vision is quite blurry today. Pay minimum, remaining balance, estimated interest. Yeah, what is this? This goes, I see this is like a slider where you can show that you're going to pay less interest. It's interesting, this estimated interest. Does this mean for like 1 month? Curious kind of to know about that. I feel like that could be a potential motivator. It's like, hey, you bought $550.50 worth of stuff, right? Services, food, shopping, whatever it is you bought. If you don't pay your balance in full, that stuff is going to cost you, $565 the next month. And if you keep paying the minimum, like if you pay the minimum for 6 months, that stuff's going to cost you, I don't know, what, $600-700. Trying to think of where am I going with this? This image here, cool. It talks about some things. This sounds like this looks to me like the existing app, I guess, right? Because they had this sliding scale, right? This is like the V1 that they had, and there was something confusing. Calling that out, like the red things in a figure caption would be great. Red areas highlight areas of confusion. People didn't understand what this symbol was, right? What the icon was, highlighted by number 1. People didn't understand number 2, the slider. What would it do? Usability testing revealed interactions were not nudging them to pay their full balance. Users wanted a pause moment to avoid an accidental transaction. Users wanted an option. Here's another thing too. It's also easy to make simple mistakes when writing. And I think, let's see, I don't know if Hemingway's that good at it. No, it's not good at it. Grammarly is good at grammar. So, right, users wanted a pause moment, should be to avoid, right? Users wanted an option or the option. So just to flag that, Hemingway I think is really good for flagging long sentences. Grammarly, I don't know if Grammarly has a free thing. Yeah, you can add something to Chrome. So I'll put this in chat as well. This will really help about grammar, avoiding plagiarization, avoiding like overused words. Nice. Common mistakes like your, affect, effect, that kind of stuff. So I guess this is like iterating on it, right? $50 minimum. You reduce interest charges by paying balance. Oh, this is interesting. It doesn't actually show. Oh, here it does. It does show in red. Your remaining balance, your estimated interest. And then a proceed. Like, are you sure? Interesting. And then there's a little video. I don't know if this is going to have sound or not. It doesn't have any sound. Something I recommend for these kind of things too, if you want to add something like this, if it's really obvious, number one is to just use an animated image. Then you don't get this at the end. That's the challenge of like embedding a YouTube video. Now your website just has all this stuff, which may or may not be relevant at all to what you're showing and may give like a weird impression. So if you've got just something that you're like animating through, cool. Split those interactions up or capture them as small as possible. Give it a little figure caption about what you're showing. Right? This one was fairly easy. It's like, here's the user going through and using a slider to make a full payment. Boom. The other thing that I want to see in storytelling is some of the things that were considered and maybe tested or not tested. For example, like why default to the minimum, right? Why not default to the full balance? If the idea is to get people to pay their full balance on time, why not have that be the default, right? I'm guessing there's probably a good reason not for doing that, but I don't get that from the story. I do like how these things basically connect. In my mind, I can connect the dots between the issues here and what you learned and the changes that you made, but spelling those things out can be even more helpful. Take one area, take what you learned, take the change, like connect those things together. As much as your portfolio case study can connect those dots and just tell those simple stories, that's going to be even more effective. So I would encourage Asha to think about splitting these things up as far as like, here are some issues that we discovered, right? These basically map to these. And then what were some of the ideas you came up with? And then how did those do during testing? Then you've got this visual language stuff. Then there's all these things. Okay. Here's another thing. I see this fairly commonly in case studies. This case study is huge. Like, it's really in depth. It went through like prototyping and I think there was some sketching, right? Was there some interviews or something at the beginning? In-depth interviews? Yep. So this is really expansive. And another great thing about great storytelling is great stories are fairly focused. And I'm going to share. There's this case study that I love to share for this. It's this one. I label it Case Study, Short and Sweet from Student Beans. I'm just going to post it in chat. I highly recommend checking it out because this is a case study that is very short and sweet. I mean, I can scroll through this. Boom, ends with the results. Look at that. So I think this is great in that it really focuses on here's the current situation. Here's like the problem we're dealing with, and here's some ideation. Here's some things we considered, right? Really simple, just pulling things out. Very short sentences, right? No long paragraphs. This one's already getting a little bit too long, right? Using images, using figure captions, right? Proposed conversation flow. Oh, okay, that's what this is. And they also introduce it. To do this, we had to start the review prompt with a conversation. It includes some visuals, right? It includes a little animation, right? It's an animation, not a video. So it's full control. It just loops through, and hopefully they introduced it. Then they talk about results and then like what next and some things. All right, I'll just flag that one as something that can help you focus. Something that I usually ask designers when they're creating their portfolio case study, because this has enough content to potentially be multiple individual case studies. What I would ask Asha is, what do you want someone who looks at this case study, what are 2, maybe 3 things you want someone to remember? So if I close this tab, I go to sleep, I wake up the next morning, and someone asks me like, hey, what do you think about Asha? What are the 3 things you want me to say? And think about how you're crafting your story to focus on, that particular strength area or skill set or impact that you've had. I think that can be really helpful. It's going and going. All right, and then at the end, I guess this is interesting. This is next steps. Cool, it's still ongoing. That's fine. Being very clear about what the next steps are. Even in usability testing, I'm trying to think, could you be measuring anything that would report on your success metrics? I don't think so. Yeah, because one of your metrics is like 6 months. Needs 6 months of data. And the other one needs to have like actual bill paying behavior, not just using an app to show that people know how to do the bill to pay 100% of their bill, but that they actually do it, right? So that's something that you could think about. Is that a call to action, right? Do you want to say like, find out, we're going to be measuring results. We're going to launch these updates, and then we're going to be measuring results. Enter your email to be notified when I finish the story. Maybe you can like leave them hanging, like, wow, like what's next? What's going to happen? Now we're going to launch this thing and see what happens. Think about what call to action. What action do you want someone to take once they've read through the story? I think it's perfectly fine to like end on a cliffhanger. If this is something like you're in the middle of, cool. Collect some interest. See if people are interested. They give you their email address to say like, yeah, I'm interested enough to give you my email to find out more about this. Great. It's a cool way you can start building a little audience as well. All right. I know I spent way much time on that, but this is super interesting. I really like this kind of text and story focus. Hopefully Asha got enough out of this one that she feels good about moving on. Leading development of core user experience for a story-based game mobile app concept, empowering kids to take charge of their emotions. That's a mouthful. And of course, it's flagged. Very hard to read. No surprise there, right? Again, I'm not going to repeat things too much because we've already seen in the first one. This is about, why did this project exist? What impact do you have? Why, I guess, is empowering kids to take charge of their emotions. What does this mean? Like, why do you want to empower kids to take charge of their emotions? Is this about, yeah. I guess that's my question. Why? I guess I don't have any answers. I don't have kids, and I haven't worked with kids enough to understand like why I would want them to take charge of their emotions, other than to just be like independent human beings, happy human beings. Oh, this is interesting. So this one's quite different in that it shows view prototype. I will tell Asha that the thing I have about one of my pet peeves about having just a view prototype link, and I'll just see if it opens in here, go somewhere else. The issue I have with, and this is actually great because I can kind of show what I do. When someone shows a prototype like this, I'm just like, okay, I can't click on this. Oh, it's locked. I can't see my account. Okay, I did that. And then there was like a little wiggle. How do I go back? I'm like using my keyboard. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this thing changed. Oh yeah, look at that. So I'm like, attention to detail is a little bit off. I know how hard it is to get things to line up, but it's little things I'm noticing. So I'm just flagging this because I think that's the danger of, and then like, wait, what just happened? I didn't tap anything. What's going on? Oh, why did it do that? Right? That's not what I tapped on. The point is, we create prototypes, usually, to run some tests, right? Or to invite people to kick the tires and give feedback. And that's most effective when we give people specific tasks to do. We give them a scenario, we give them some tasks, like usability tests, right? So what I recommend is, and what I believe to be true, is that whenever you hand someone a prototype or give someone access to your prototype, you are including them as a participant in a usability test. The thing about just giving them the link, though, is they don't know what the scenario is. They don't know the tasks. So what I encourage people to do is, whenever you're interested in sharing a prototype, make it very clear for the person that they're going to be participating in this test and how you used it. Because what I want to evaluate about a prototype is, based on the given scenario, based on the given tasks, how well do I feel this prototype delivers, allows someone to either succeed or fail on those tasks. And without that information, all I can do is look at little things, like I was nitpicking, right? And that's not what we want people to do with our prototypes. Prototypes, especially complex ones, can be very difficult to get perfect. Maybe you've got something somewhere that's a pixel off, and you didn't notice because you're really close and you just don't notice that. It's relatively easy for someone else to come look at it and because they don't really know what's going on, they notice this little niggling thing. So great. It's perfectly fine to share prototypes. I encourage people to include tasks and scenarios and basically say why did you create a prototype? I created a prototype to get feedback on these following areas. Here's the test. Here's the scenario. Here are the tasks. If you want, go ahead and try to complete the tasks, right? Again, same kind of concept here, same feedback here around organization of the text and proximity to make it very clear that there are separate groups. Here we go. This is a mobile solution to address bullying. So that's why, right? How about that? Working to end bullying through a mobile app that empowers kids to take charge of their emotions, right? Why? This is all about stopping bullying. Bullies suck. We built an app to help kids take charge of their emotions and reduce bullying behaviors. Boom. Again, we know about responsibilities. We can look at job posts and try to align our list of responsibilities. Cool. Tools. Oh, simple thing here. Relatively simple. And a way to level up case studies is adding link. So let's say I'm a recruiter or a hiring manager who never heard of Figma. Having a link here would let me know what this thing is. If I'm a recruiter, I'm like, Figma, what's that? Is that a paintbrush or what is that? Having a link here. Again, a link to any of this stuff. You could link to your favorite pen and paper if you want to as well. The point is, if there are resources that you can link to easily, do so. I think for me personally, it indicates the writer or the author of this post was really thinking about the viewer and the audience in mind, thinking about, hey, I made this for someone and someone's interested enough in this design stuff. They might be interested enough with this Figma. Let me help them so they don't have to like copy this, paste it into Google, search, look for something that's, relevant, click that, go there. You can save them time and get them right there. Also, that's the other big thing. Links save people time. Challenge based on research, kids struggling with anxiety and big emotions are on the rise. What does this have to do with bullying? I don't know. So that's interesting. So I kind of got this like bullying thing here, but I don't get it here. So I think that's, again, I'm focusing more on the storytelling right now, right? How do you connect that stopping bullying with this research? What's the desired outcome? Like children who use this app reduce their bullying behaviors. Children who use this app have zero bullying behaviors. Children who use this app actually are like an anti-bully force that spreads, and kids who use this app actually reduce bullying around them. Like, there's a lot of potential desired outcomes. Again, what's that desired outcome? The desired outcome is not just to have an app, right? Like, having an app doesn't necessarily do anything. You have to have people using it. It actually has to affect their behavior change. So what is that desired outcome? And then again, how are you going to measure? I'm just going to see, do we see any like metrics? I don't see any metrics. So I think that's something that I would say take from the guide case study, is really identifying those metrics. Understanding kids' behavior. What does this mean? Understanding kids' behavior, I would expect to see something that's related to behavior, like positive behavior, or like helpful behavior, hurtful behavior, like things that are related to bullying. So I'm already like, I don't understand why is this Venn diagram with kids, parents, and educators in understanding kids' behaviors. We wanted to ensure we had buy-in from parents and educators as well as kids. Okay, why? A UX researcher on our team led casual at-home interviews with 4 families. Parents and children are interviewed together. Interestingly, is this like for just like legal, ethical reasons? I think that's interesting. We also interviewed 3 school counselors. Again, this could be a case study that's focused on this research. I don't know, because it sounds like this isn't Asha, like someone else did this stuff, but then it also says we. I think I missed that feedback again on the previous story. As you're telling the story, don't hesitate to make it very clear like what you did and what other people did. I think that's something also that tends to get fuzzy in case studies. We read a lot of like we, and from my experience, and I think it's probably a fairly common experience, in group projects, it's often the case that not everyone contributes equally, right? Sometimes there's someone who contributes way more than someone else. Or sometimes there's, multiple people contributing at a similar level and someone contributing much less. So making it really clear what you contributed in the story is also important, right? Because at the end of the day, we want these case studies to help tell your story about this project and your ability to have that positive impact and outcomes. 80% of kids reported not knowing. Oh, this is another interesting thing. I've been fairly sensitive to language where we say something like 80% of kids. 80% of kids is like millions of kids. But I don't think this is millions of kids. I think this is just results from your 4 families and 3 counselors. So a really simple tweak is like 80% of children interviewed reported blah, blah, blah. 60% of the children interviewed, right? 70% of parents interviewed. I forget what I was reading the other day, but I noticed that called out. And I thought it's really smart because I do see a lot of things like, let's say you poll 1,000 Americans. You can't say 50% of Americans believe, you ask 1,000 Americans, which ice cream flavor do they prefer? Vanilla, strawberry, or chocolate? You can't come back and say 62% of Americans prefer vanilla ice cream. You didn't talk with 62% of Americans, right? I know I'm probably beating this over the head, so I'm gonna move on. Anyways, I like making fun little analogies like that. Thanks for humoring me. Yeah, I'm missing. I think the underlying issue for me for this story is it's not focusing on the bullying problem enough. So I'm not really engaged in like having an app. They had a smartphone, great. 75% said yes to the question, would you use an app that helps you track and understand your emotions? I'll flag this. For me, this is a red flag right here. Whenever you ask someone to do something that it doesn't cost them anything to say yes, this is really common kind of researcher bias effect that can happen. If I tell you, will you, if I say, hey, I'm doing this live stream next Thursday again, same time, gonna do a live stream again. I poll 10 people on the street. Hey, will you come in? Will you log on and visit my YouTube channel at 6 p.m. on Thursday? Yep. Maybe I can get 75% of people to say yes. Like, I could even say like, would you come on? The issue with it is that there's no skin on the game. So making a decision based off of people saying yes about some future behavior isn't necessarily a great motivator or piece of information to make a decision off of. If I asked, a better question would have been perhaps, would you give up your allowance or like pay some money? Will you give me $5 right now for this app that helps you track and understand your emotions? Are you going to get 75% of kids saying yes? I don't know. So be very careful when, and in general, I just say avoid asking people about future intentions or behavior. Ask about past things, right? Have you used an app to help you track and understand your emotions, right? In the past, because past behaviors are better predictors of future behaviors than imagining. Humans are not good at predicting the future, and it costs them nothing to say yes. Like the fact that 25% of kids said no, I feel like 25% of kids are honest in this situation. So think about that, like review your stuff. I guess this is another like just good pitch of why you should write case studies and share them with people too, so that you can see this. Like, I don't know that if Asha asked her like her best friend or one of the UX people partners, like, will they call this out as a red flag and say, hey, maybe we don't want to bring attention to this, that we're using this kind of question because this actually isn't that very strong of a research question, and we actually might want to avoid things like this and connecting decisions based on right? 75% of these kids is like 4 kids. Create a judgment-free digital tool. What's this going to do? Market strategy. I mean, there's some interesting things going on with like the type of concept, like market strategy. How might we build intrinsic motivation? Again, the thing that I still want from this more than anything is just a connection with stopping bullying. Like at the end of the day, I don't care if kids, what is it? What does it do? I don't care if kids track and understand their emotions. I just care about stopping bullying. Now, if tracking and understanding emotions results in a decrease of bullying, fantastic. But I haven't seen any evidence that you have information that tracking and understanding emotions does like increase empathy, which I believe increasing empathy is probably likely to reduce bullying, but I haven't seen that connection. Some of the stuff like visual design, again, if this is more of a case study about this exploration of coming up with a visual language that is better fit to younger children, cool. Focusing on that, it seems like there's quite a bit of thinking around that in visual design choices. For instance, rich color gradients and circular shapes remind kids that emotions exist in different hues. Yeah, cool. I would remove the highlighting from rich. For instance, when you're doing these kind of bold highlights, this can really help in scanning. So like +1 to doing this, just make sure that it reads as a standalone sentence, right? Rich color gradients and circular shapes remind kids that emotions exist in different, and it's not even the shapes, right? Hues and spectrums, this refers to colors. Rich color gradients remind kids that emotions exist in different hues and spectrums. Boom. Great. You've got a punchy thing. It stands alone. It makes sense. If you add the, for instance, it gets awkward. For instance, rich color gradients, like, oh, like, for instance implies like, oh, there's something right before that I need to read because now I'm getting an instance of whatever was said right before. Versus removing it, now you just have the meat, the gold nugget, right? Rich color gradients remind kids that emotions exist in spectrums. Boom. So I do appreciate the use of bolding. The other thing to ask yourself is, if you find yourself in this situation where you feel like you need to give special emphasis for something, just double check, is the text around it necessary? Like, could you remove all of this? Visual design choices. Bullet. Rich color gradients to remind kids that emotions exist in spectrums. Circular shapes, so that circular shapes to avoid, sharp, dangerous shapes, right? There's a reason why we like circular and rounded things better. We're not going to get hurt, right? Sharp angles hurt, right? We can hurt ourselves on sharp things. Rounded things, not so much, usually. Okay. We're going way over with this. No one's keeping me on track. That's all right. I literally had a timer set up before I started the stream and I totally forgot to set it. But anyways, I want to look at chat real quick. Ralph says, Adam, you mentioned case studies that can be a project for research specifically. Yes. What would a UI case study look like then? So Ralph, I think it would really focus on the why about the research. So, desired outcomes would be like, we want to learn this, right? User research, the goal is to learn something. And usually you have an idea of specific things that you want to learn. So these are desired outcomes to learn this. Here's how we're going to measure success. You're going to measure success by basically could be kind of pass fail. Like, did we learn this? Did we learn enough to make this decision? Like, we want to collect this data in order to make a decision. Should we go this way? Should we go that way? Should we do A or B? The success metric is, did we get enough information to increase our confidence and make a decision? Boom. Then you can go more into the process. How did you decide on a user research method? How did you run the research? All that kind of stuff. All right, let's move on to this last page of this portfolio review. This is a great portfolio spotlight. Here we go. Asha, did you know that Asha means hope in Sanskrit? I did not. Today, I learned that Asha means hope in Sanskrit. That's cool. Fun picture. I like the picture. I think the thing I always recommend to people is like, no boring like straight face headshots in front of a brick wall or a white wall. Like, at the very least, smile. Even better, have some kind of like fun photo that you would share with your friend. So I can imagine this is like a cool photo. I don't even know where Asha is. To me, it looks like some kind of art museum or like really fun museum. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And there must be like wind going on or something, right? Like, look at her hair. Anyways, it tells you a little bit about something. Like, to me, this says like, oh, Asha is like a fairly happy, fun person. She's smiling, and she like goes to some really interesting, cool places. Like, I have no idea where this is, but I kind of want to know where it is, right? So I think that's effective. I think this is great. Kind of intro. For me personally, I like About Me page to be focused on like the person as a human being outside of being a designer. Some people put a bunch of professional stuff. That's cool. As long as it's balanced at least somewhat by like, who are you outside of work, right? She gives her email, her LinkedIn, you got a resume link. This is kind of like a fluffy kind of stuff. At least this paragraph, I guess I'm kind of like getting okay with fluff. Like, I'm just like, all right, it's fluff. That's all right. I used to be more triggered by fluff. Like, what does this mean? I love using my the thing I used as a measure, just in case people want to know, like, the threshold I suggest using is like whether or not you should include text like this. If I asked 100 designers, do you love using your creativity to craft the future? If 100 designers say yes, I don't need to say it. All designers do this. 100 designers, do you like shaping human experiences for the better? If 100 designers say yes, even if 99 designers say yes, probably don't need to say it. Probably doesn't really help you, because this kind of stuff is like assumed. Yes, we get it. This is what designers do. This one's fairly unique, right? I think this one is more fluffy, like kind of maximum fluffy, and then this one is less fluffy, more unique, more like this one stands out a little bit more as like being more of a strength, right? I happily face uncertainty and complexity with sense of fun and exploration. I don't know that that's true for 100 designers, right? I'm happiest when my enthusiasm for design keeps me up until 4 a.m. while listening to my favorite 80s jams. So this is interesting. This is actually something that I interview for quite a bit. This kind of like grit, passion, motivation, perseverance, like drive. I guess it's more like drive and ambition. So something that would be really interesting to me is, great. Asha clearly can get into flow when she's excited about design. So now, what kind of designs get her that excited? Like, what kind of situations she's like, I don't want to sleep tonight. Like, I got to work on this. This is so exciting. Another great photo, like working photo, smiling, cool. Story time. This is like more fluffy. Yeah, okay, maybe it's like kind of cute. Where's like the personal connection? So let's see, my creativity is many illustrations. Oh, iterations. Some illustration collaboration at Barnes and Noble store nationwide. This like sounds cool. Again, it's not like pressure. I'd say I would apply friendly pressure to like cool proof or it didn't happen kind of things. Like, is there something you can share like of your illustrations? Can there be an example of an illustration of something in a Crate and Barrel store? This women's empowerment platform, cool. You link to it. That's great. Nice. Is there like, I guess, yeah, is there a photo or anything else that can like lend strength to this? I'd say the thing, roadie is food. Cool. There's a little opportunity for connection. I'm trying to look for other things. Favorite 80s jams. Cool. You talk about favorite 80s jams, like share a few. Add a link to your Spotify 80s playlist. Other things that I recommend that are easy to add to help make a personal connection is geography things. So where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? Where are places you visited? Where are places you want to go? Easy to make connections through geography. Favorites, stuff that you like. You list favorite books, favorite movies, favorite hobbies, favorite sports, favorite class at school, favorite color, favorite, like, if you just start listing stuff you like, it's probably not going to take that many things before someone's like, I like that too. Yeah. And I think that's one of the other like special things that this about page can do. So think about how you might incorporate some of those opportunities for personal connection. I think it's a lot easier to get excited and interested about speaking with someone more or finding more about someone if you have a personal connection. Stuff like this story time, I think this is kind of cool. I didn't actually like read it, as I said, because again, like this stuff to me is kind of fluffy, but like I said, it can be cute, it can be fun. Maybe there's a way visually to play with that too. Like think about some of these side pieces that maybe aren't the most important thing on the page, right? Because maybe this doesn't have as much personal connection as some of the other information. How might you display this differently to like, cool, I get it. Like this is a little cute thing, but guess what? Like I want to share this anyways. Like I like this story. It's cute. Like let me put it over here. So if you want to read it, you can. Otherwise, like you can get all the important stuff as well. And I totally got to check this out too. So Ms. Coffee and Cream. Oh, I have a comment on that. So I'll go back. So another thing I recommend, whenever you're taking someone away from your site, I recommend using opening the link in a new tab or browser. And just to share, like, how do you do that? I don't know what you're using to build the site. Let's see. We can see at the top. Maybe not. Head, here we go. What do we have? Squarespace, there we go. Squarespace, so you're using Squarespace. They've got to have a functionality when you created this link to like have it open in a new tab or something. The way that you do it in HTML is you give it target equals underscore blank. And watch now that I've hacked this. Here I think is the better experience. It opens in a new tab. Cool, I can check this out and I'm exactly where I am. I can like pick it up. I can pick up the page exactly where I was. Interesting. So this is like a whole bunch of like, this is almost like a blog or like a post. It's very visual. It's very interesting. There's like a lot of like moods. I forget, what is this? Women's empowerment platform. Got it. So this helps. And it looks like maybe there are other, maybe this is not just one person. I'm thinking these are there are multiple people posting. I think, yeah. Cool. Boost intimacy, keep attraction alive, make introversion your superpower. Cool. So like that kind of thing is neat. Even taking a screenshot of this and adding it here might be kind of cool, because this is quite visually like, wow, there's some like cool stuff going on. All right. Claps for Asha. Thank you so much for requesting portfolio review. I hope that was helpful. I think you're asking some really important questions and thinking about the story you're telling and how you're keeping text short. I hope now you feel like you have maybe some new tools and maybe some new questions. Hopefully you hear my voice inside your head as you're thinking about this. Like, why? Why is that important? How does it help with the story? All right, double check chat. Ooh, I like Ralph's suggestion too. Yeah, I actually noticed that at first and I didn't say anything. So Ralph's got good eyes as well, and better eyes than me probably. And he noticed that this like black cube thing, I think that's Squarespace default fav icon. And there's probably a way in Squarespace that's pretty easy to upload an image. Something that I switched to recently. I used to have like a little like logo thing, like this Grammarly or Medium. And then I was like, wait a minute, my site is like, it's about me. Like it's my site. Why doesn't it have my face? So I actually use my, like, even if it's too small to kind of like see, this is my like social media photo. This is what I use on my Twitter, on my AngelList, like all the social media stuff. So if you don't have any ideas of things right away, I think that's an easy one. I think I'd like to start the trend. Let's start adding our own faces to our portfolio sites. Then we have our face, and it's like you start making more of a connection with the name and a face. I guess this is also, I'm noticing on mine, I have my name first on the page title. So that might be something else that you do. I noticed that you, Asha, have, you put your name after, which I think is also a pattern. Let me hover over it. So come on, do the thing, do the thing. There we go. If you put your face up there, it might be more valuable also to move the page title, to move your name first. So then someone can see Asha and your face, and then yeah, the title, you can still access it, right? You'll still be able to see it, but that might be a little advantage to like what Ralph is saying. Exactly, Kyle. Yeah, an emoji version, something that makes it a little bit more personal, right? Like this is your site. All right, Kyle's gonna do it. All right, a challenge. This is an official challenge. Like once you've updated your fav icon to something personal that looks like you, take a screenshot and tweet at me. What's my Twitter link? I think you can just do this, right? Is that how you tweet at someone? Well, no, but you'll know the name. I guess this is the way to do it, right? I suppose I should do this. There we go. At UX_Adam. All right. I don't have anything else on my agenda because I'm probably going to wrap up in a few minutes. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to do still for Angels tonight. I've been making a ton of Trello tickets based on these kind of testing sessions, and we've got all this feedback, trying to get it all in one place. I want to wrap that up. So I think I'm going to sign off in just a minute. So I guess last call for questions or sharing. Anything you want to share, something cool that you've seen. Oh, I know. While I've got that out there, now I gotta try to like look at my webcam. Is there a book in there? Kinda, yeah. All right. A book that I just started reading, Strategic Writing for UX. And I mean literally just started reading. I'm on page 5. So far, so good. And if you, because of the theme of this portfolio review, like talking about storytelling, talking about text, I think this book is probably a valuable one for people to read. I'll keep reading it. Maybe I can check in next week with you and let you know if I've learned anything valuable that I've started applying or want to share. But yeah, it's been a while since I've read a design-related book. And there's several O'Reilly books that came out last year that I've picked up. And I know Ralph's got his big list of books as well. So that'll be my sharing. Let me see if I can find a link real quick. Strategic Writing for UX. Here it is. All right, Ralph has a question about designing for constraints. Is it more valuable than a personal project? For example, a nonprofit project versus a project done all alone. So I feel like there's 2 questions in here. Maybe not. Let me reread it. Question about designing for constraints. Is it more valuable than a personal project? For example, a nonprofit project versus a project done all alone. Okay, Ralph, I have a question for you. When you say designing for constraints, what are you thinking? I just want to make sure we have the same thing in our thought bubbles above our heads. The question that's more clear to me and that I'm going to respond to first is, I think we're talking about in terms of portfolio or projects that you're presenting, right? Is a nonprofit project or a project that you are doing for someone else, right? An external client, more or less valuable than a personal project? I think no. I think it's not like more or less valuable. I think the point of projects, and actually Pablo Stanley's portfolio does an excellent job of this. We'll go take a look at it in just a second. It's really about like what story you're telling. Like Asha's got it. She gets it. Like these are stories. That's why she's asking about how do I refine the text? How do I refine the story? It's really about what are those 2 or 3 things you want people to remember? What's the impact that you want to make? The story you want to tell? And you can tell, different kinds of stories with different kinds of projects. Not everything has to be done, for payment or for someone else. And just to like drive that home, take a look at Pablo Stanley's site. His first thing, kind of a passion project and contributing to seeing more of a variety of people and skin colors in app illustrations, right? As far as I know, no one paid for him to do it. This was something that he wanted to do. Personal project, first thing highlighted. Then he's got like something that he gets paid to do, right? He's working on the studio platform at Envision. Cool. Oh, here's something. He collaborated with Julie Duo from Facebook. And I don't think she's at Facebook anymore, is she? I feel like she's somewhere else. I Yeah, still Facebook. Okay. VP of Design at Facebook. Cool. Worked on this. Like, again, this is not necessarily a personal project, but it's a different type of project. Then we go to design team. Again, he's got like his funny design team contests featuring Petunia. Where is she? Let's see. There she is. And that's him. The like design manager in it. Right? Personal. He's actually like professional, full-time role. Right? He's got a mix of all kind of stuff. Just to highlight that, you know, it really depends on what kind of story you want to tell yourself. How do you want to present yourself? And then to ask with your follow-up question, if you do a project for nonprofits, it wouldn't have constraints. I think every project has constraints, Ralph. So when I talk about constraints, I'm talking about everything from time, right? We don't have 10 years to get this done. So we have some time constraints. We only have 2 months, right? We have 2 months to get this done. We have technological constraints, right? We are on this existing, maybe we're on an existing tech stack, and given the time and the limited resources, like we only have one person working part-time engineering, like that's not enough to move over to a completely new tech stack. So we have some, you know, technical constraints. So I think constraints are something that exists for every project to some degree. It just depends on how you're thinking about those. From more of a design standpoint focus, it could be constraints around, we are targeting this particular persona or this type of customer, and we are not targeting this other kind of customer, right? So there are some boundaries of maybe your audience or who you're designing for. Those kinds of things. That's what I think of when I think of constraints. So I hope that helps. Alrighty, I want to thank Asha for participating in the live portfolio review. I think that was great. I hope it helps even more people who get to see that and benefit from that. Always shout out to Ralph for tuning in, Janice. It was great to see Kyle as well. And I feel like maybe I'm missing someone, but if you're just hanging out and listening, thank you too. I hope you got something good out of it. I think next week I'm doing extra eye drops, so I'm really hopeful that next week my vision is a little bit more clear, and that I'm also further caught up in work, and we can do a full 2 hours and do a little bit more sharing and interesting stuff. Whew. All right. Until then, stay dry. It was raining today. Stay dry, stay warm, and be nice to one another, and happy designing. Hope to see you next week. Adios.